Okay, so we've got quite a bit here on Amazon S3.
Yeah?
Looks like you're really trying to dive deep into this, and we're happy to help guide you through it all.
Appreciate it.
We're even going straight to the source with the Cloud Guru S3 guide, so that's exciting.
Straight from the source. And S3, it might seem like just like a simple storage service in the cloud, but
Right.
we're going to unpack how it's really become like a platform for managing and analyzing and even processing your data.
So where do we even begin with something like this?
Let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Buckets and objects.
All right.
So imagine S3 as this giant warehouse.
Okay.
And each bucket is like a storage room inside that warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
The objects are the actual things you're storing in there.
Okay.
Whether those are files or images or videos or even like data sets.
So if I upload a family photo to S3, that photo is an object that's living in a bucket that I created.
Precisely. And every object has a unique key, which is like its address.
Gotcha.
It's like the object's file name, you could think of it as.
Mm-hmm.
What's really cool is that S3 handles updates
Okay.
in a way that guarantees you'll never end up with corrupted data.
Ooh.
It's called atomic updates.
Atomic updates.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty serious.
It is in a good way.
Okay.
Basically, when you update a file in S3, anyone who's trying to access that file will either get the original version or the fully updated version.
Okay.
Never anything in between.
Gotcha.
So you'll never have like half uploaded files or anything like that.
That's such a relief.
Yeah.
I've definitely had my fair share of corrupted files.
For sure.
So.
With S3, you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
It's designed for reliability and consistency.
So S3 is like this giant warehouse. Are there any like limits to how much I can cram into my storage room?
Yeah, there are some limits, but they're pretty generous.
Okay.
Each AWS account has a default limit on how many buckets you can create. And each bucket has its own limits on the number of objects and how big those objects can be.
Gotcha.
You also have to be mindful of bucket naming rules.
Okay.
They can't look like an IP address, for example.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Those little details?
Yeah, those little details.
Not always get.
Exactly.
So let's say I've got all this data in S3.
Mm-hmm.
How do I actually get to it when I need it?
S3 gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to downloading your objects.
Okay.
You can download individual files. You can download like multiple files at once, or even just download like a portion of a large object.
Oh, wow.
If you only need a piece of it.
Okay.
If someone else has data in their buckets and they've given you permission, you can even download directly from their account.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so many options. S3 really does try to cover everything.
But then my buckets would start to overflow with all these objects.
Right.
How do I keep things organized?
Organization is definitely key.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with millions of objects.
Yeah.
Thankfully, S3 lets you use prefixes and folders
Okay.
to like visually structure your data.
So it's like making folders on my computer.
It looks that way, but it works a bit differently under the hood. So you're not creating these like separate physical folders.
Okay.
You're adding prefixes to the object keys.
Gotcha.
And those prefixes are used to visually group objects that have like a common element in their names.
So it's more like a visual aid
Exactly.
than a real folder.
Yeah. It helps you like visually understand your data. You can even calculate the total size of a folder.
Okay.
But incomplete multi-part uploads aren't included in that calculation.
Good to know.
Yeah.
What other ways can I keep my data tidy
Absolutely.
besides folders?
S3 lets you use tags
Okay.
to categorize your objects. Tags are like labels
Okay.
that you can apply to your objects.
Gotcha.
They're key value pairs. So you could have a tag for project
Okay.
with a value of top secret mission, for example.
So I could just tag everything related to my top secret mission.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then you can easily find it later.
Gotcha.
Tags are great for managing costs and tracking usage and even controlling access to certain objects.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of control,
Right.
how do I manage who has access to my buckets and objects?
Security is paramount.
Yes.
With S3,
Yeah.
bucket policies are your first line of defense.
Okay.
They're like the rule book for your bucket.
Gotcha.
They're written in JSON format, and they basically say who can access your bucket
Okay.
and what actions they're allowed to perform. You can add, view, and delete these policies
Okay.
to fine-tune access
Gotcha.
at a really granular level.
Okay.
You can even empty or delete directory buckets if you need to.
Okay.
But-
But what if I accidentally delete something important?
Don't worry.
Yeah.
S3 has you covered.
Really?
There's a feature called versioning, which basically keeps multiple versions of an object within a bucket.
Oh, cool.
So if you accidentally delete a file, you can just roll back to a previous version.
Wow.
And to make sure you don't forget.
Yeah.
S3 will actually give you a warning in the console.
Okay.
If you haven't enabled versioning.
Interesting.
Yeah, like a safety net.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like those little reminders.
Exactly.
What other tools does S3 have for managing access and security?
Well, there's S3 access points.
Okay.
Which let you create kind of specific entry points to your data within a bucket.
Okay.
Each with their own set of permissions.
So it's like having different doors to the warehouse.
Exactly.
With different levels of security.
You got it.
Okay.
And then you have access control lists, or ACLs.
Okay.
Which let you define permissions at the object level.
So like specific files.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So you could say that certain users can only read a file.
Okay.
While others can write to it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it gives you that granular control over your data.
This is starting to make a lot of sense.
Good.
It seems like S3 has a lot built in to prevent like data loss.
Yeah.
Or unauthorized access, which is good.
And that brings us to another important aspect of S3.
Okay.
Data transfer.
Okay.
When you're dealing with large data sets, moving that data quickly and securely becomes really important.
Especially if I'm trying to collaborate with someone across the globe.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's why S3 offers transfer acceleration.
Okay.
Which basically uses Amazon's global network of edge locations to optimize data transfer speeds.
Okay.
Especially when you're moving data across long distances. There is a little quirk to remember, though.
Okay.
For transfer acceleration to work, your bucket name needs to follow specific DNS rules.
It's always the little details.
Yeah, always those little details.
So if I'm moving lots of large data sets around the world, transfer acceleration.
Transfer acceleration.
Saves the day.
Could definitely save you a lot of time.
Speaking of saving.
Right.
Have you ever thought about making someone else pay to access your data?
Is that even possible?
I don't know, is it?
It is with S3.
Really?
They have something called requester pays buckets.
Okay.
Basically, the person downloading the data, not the bucket owner, pays for the data transfer.
Oh, wow.
So
you get to have your cake and eat it too.
Exactly.
So what about public access to my buckets?
Public access is a really important thing to consider.
Yeah.
And S3 has you covered.
Okay.
Blocking public access to your buckets is essential for security reasons.
Right.
And S3 actually has settings for this.
Okay.
That are turned on by default.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's a relief.
You should always review those settings. Just to make sure that they align with what you need.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that S3 kind of has your back from the get-go.
I like that.
Yeah.
Are there any other security features worth noting?
S3 Object Lock.
Okay.
That's a good one to mention. It basically prevents objects from being deleted or overwritten for like a set period of time.
Okay.
Or even indefinitely.
So it's like a time capsule.
You could say that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it helps organizations meet regulatory requirements for worm storage.
Okay.
Which is write once, read many.
Gotcha.
And it adds an extra layer of protection.
Okay.
Against like accidental or intentional data modification.
Those are some serious security features.
Yeah.
It sounds like S3 goes above and beyond to keep data safe.
They do.
But is S3 just about storing and protecting data?
No, it's much more than that.
Okay.
It can actually do some pretty cool things with your data.
All right.
For example, S3 automatically captures and stores metadata.
Metadata.
Yeah.
Meaning like information about the data itself, like file size, creation date, things like that.
All that
So
stuff.
it's like it makes an index.
Yeah, you can think of it that way.
Of all the data.
Yeah. This metadata can be really useful for speeding up data discovery and analysis, especially for things like AI and machine learning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which rely on really understanding your data.
So it's like S3 is actively analyzing my data.
You could think of it that way, yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
It is.
What other tricks does it have up its sleeve?
Well, there's a feature called S3 Select.
Okay.
Which lets you query data directly within S3 objects.
Okay.
Without having to download the whole thing.
Wow. So if I've got like this massive data set stored in S3 and I just need a few specific rows of data, I don't have to download the whole thing.
You don't. You can use S3 Select.
Okay.
To run SQL queries directly on your data in S3 and just retrieve the information that you need.
That's a huge time saver.
It is.
And bandwidth saver.
Definitely.
So S3 Select for the win.
It's very useful for data analysis and exploration.
And what if I need to do a similar action on a bunch of objects?
Right.
Like add a tag or a retention policy to like thousands of files.
That's where S3 batch operations comes in.
Okay.
It's a lifesaver for bulk actions.
Wow.
You can copy objects, set tags, apply retention policies, or even invoke Lambda functions.
Hold on. Lambda function? You mean running custom code?
Exactly.
On my S3 data.
You got it.
Wow.
S3 batch operations lets you orchestrate all these actions and track their progress. And you can even assign priority levels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to make sure the critical things get done first.
This is starting to sound very powerful.
Yeah.
It seems like S3's evolved way beyond simple storage.
It definitely has.
Okay.
And we've only been talking about like general purpose S3 buckets.
Right.
There are other more specialized types of buckets designed for specific workloads.
Like what?
Well, there are directory buckets,
Okay.
which are specifically designed for high-performance workloads.
All right.
We're talking single-digit millisecond latency,
Oh, wow.
which is perfect for applications that need really rapid data access.
So speed demons.
Exactly.
Okay.
But there's a little catch.
Oh, boy.
They require a special naming convention.
All right.
A specific suffix that includes the zone ID of the AWS zone where it's located.
Those little details again.
Yep.
Okay.
So directory buckets for speed.
Gotcha.
What other specialized bucket types are there? If you need even faster access speeds, then directory buckets can offer. There's S3 Express One Zone, a high-performance single-zone storage class designed for applications where every millisecond counts.
So we've got general-purpose buckets, directory buckets, and Express One Zone.
Exactly.
So we're moving up the performance ladder.
You got it.
Okay.
So S3 Express One Zone can actually deliver data access speeds up to 10 times faster than standard S3.
10 times faster. That's incredible.
And it does so with lower request costs.
Interesting.
50% lower to be exact.
Wow.
Yeah.
But does the speed come at the expense of security?
Not at all.
Okay.
S3 Express One Zone doesn't compromise on security.
Okay.
It includes all the same robust data protection measures, the encryption options, and the authentication mechanisms that you find in other S3 storage classes.
So I can have my cake and eat it too.
Exactly.
All right.
You can even choose the checksum algorithm.
Yeah.
You want to use like CRC32, CRC32C, SHA1, or SHA2526
Gotcha.
to validate your data during uploads and downloads.
So blazing fast performance without sacrificing security.
That's right.
It's pretty remarkable how far S3 has come.
Yeah.
And you were saying S3 is more than just storage, right?
There's another really fascinating bucket type called S3 tables.
Tables?
Yeah. These buckets are purpose-built for storing tabular data.
Oh.
Think spreadsheets or databases.
Gotcha.
And they integrate seamlessly with other AWS analytics services.
So it's like a built-in data warehouse.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
Inside S3.
Exactly.
Okay.
S3 tables use the Apache Iceberg format, which is really widely used for large-scale data analytics. And it ensures compatibility with a variety of different query engines.
Gotcha.
To make things even easier.
Yeah.
S3 handles all the automatic maintenance on table buckets. So it optimizes performance and storage costs behind the scenes.
Yeah, that sounds really convenient.
It is.
What about access control?
Yeah, you can manage
my tables.
who has access.
Okay.
Using policies to manage access to both the buckets and the individual tables within them.
Gotcha.
Just like with regular S3 buckets.
Okay.
And to help manage costs, there's a feature called unreferenced file removal, which automatically deletes objects that aren't associated with table snapshots.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like a built-in cleanup crew.
Interesting.
For your data warehouse.
So S3 tables sounds really good for anyone working with big data sets and analytics.
It's a great option.
It seems like S3 has a solution for just about everything.
It really does.
Wow.
And we haven't even gotten into the flexible pricing model or the different storage classes for different access patterns or the ability to host static websites.
Oh, wow.
We've got a lot more to talk about.
All right, let's take a deep breath and dive into all that next.
Sounds good.
I'm already feeling like an S3 pro. But I'm eager to learn more.
Awesome.
Okay, so my brain is bursting with all this S3 knowledge, but I know we've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
What about the cost of all this?
Well, one of the best things about S3 is it's got really flexible pricing.
Okay.
You only pay for what you use.
Okay.
So storage requests Data transfer. You don't have to like commit to these big upfront costs or anything.
That's good.
Yeah, or fixed plans or anything like that.
I've definitely been burned by those in the past.
It's a true pay-as-you-go model, which makes it really cost-effective.
Okay.
Especially if you have like fluctuating storage needs.
Speaking of fluctuating needs, not all data is created equal. Right?
Exactly.
Some data I need to access like all the time. Other stuff might just be sitting there for months.
Yeah.
Does S3 account for that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
S3 offers different storage classes.
Okay.
Each designed for like specific access patterns.
Gotcha.
And cost considerations.
So it's like choosing the right shelf.
You got it.
For your stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Frequently used things go on the easy-to-reach shelves.
Right.
Rarely used things can go in the back.
Okay, tell me about these shelves.
Okay, so if you need really frequent access to your data and you need like low latency, S3 standard is a great choice. It's designed for high durability and availability, making it perfect for applications where performance is key.
What if I have data that I don't access very often? Right. Like archives or backups?
Yeah.
Is there like a cheaper option for that?
For sure.
Okay.
You can use S3 Glacier.
Okay.
Or even S3 Glacier Deep Archive.
Deep Archive.
Yeah, these are designed for like long-term archiving.
Okay.
And they're way cheaper than S3 standard.
But I'm guessing it takes longer to retrieve that data?
Exactly. It's a trade-off.
Okay.
You're going to be waiting hours instead of milliseconds to get your data back.
So standard is for my hot data.
Yep.
Glacier is for my cold data.
Exactly.
What if I'm somewhere in between?
They have a solution for that too.
Really?
It's called S3 Intelligent Tiering.
Okay.
Which automatically moves your data between different tiers based on how often it's accessed.
So it's like it reorganizes itself.
Exactly. It's like a smart storage system.
To be the most cost effective.
That's right.
So it does all the work for me.
Yeah. You just set it up once.
Okay.
And S3 takes care of the rest.
Amazing.
And if you want more control, there's other options like S3 One Zone Infrequent Access.
Okay.
Which is a good lower cost option for data that's accessed less frequently, but still needs to stay in a specific availability zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So many options.
Right.
Any tips for picking the right one?
The key is to understand your access patterns.
Okay.
How often do you need to get to that data? What are the latency requirements of your applications? Once you have a handle on that, you can choose the storage class that balances cost and performance.
It's not just about being the cheapest.
Right.
Right?
It's about what meets your needs.
So it's about finding the right fit.
Exactly.
Okay.
And thankfully, S3 has tools to help you with that.
Okay.
There's storage class analysis, which could give you some insight into how your data is being accessed and recommend the most cost-effective options.
S3 is all about control and flexibility.
That's the goal.
So we've covered storage classes.
Yeah.
What else can S3 do?
Okay.
Besides just storing and retrieving data.
Believe it or not, you could actually host a static website.
A whole website?
Yeah.
On S3?
Directly on S3.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a really cool feature. It's perfect for like simple websites, landing pages, personal blogs, things like that.
So you can just configure my bucket to serve up my website.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can configure it to serve HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files.
But are there any limitations?
Of course. S3 hosted websites are best for static content.
Oh,
so content that doesn't change dynamically.
Gotcha.
If you need a more complex website with server-side processing or database interactions, you'll need something more robust.
So static on S3, dynamic on something else.
That's a good way to think about it.
Okay.
But even for dynamic websites, S3 can still play a role.
Okay.
You can use it to store like images and videos and other static assets that your website needs.
Gotcha.
Which frees up your web server to handle the dynamic stuff.
So my web server handles the logic.
Yep.
And S3 does the heavy lifting?
Exactly. It's a common architecture.
Makes sense.
Especially for websites with a lot of multimedia content.
That's clever.
Yeah.
What other cool things can I do?
Remember how we were talking about triggering Lambda functions?
Right.
With S3 events?
Yeah.
You can do things like resize an image.
Automatically?
Automatically when it's uploaded.
Okay.
It's a great way to create automated workflows.
Yeah.
And integrate S3 with other AWS services. You could set up a pipeline.
Okay.
That automatically processes data when it comes in.
Right.
Generates thumbnails for videos.
Okay.
Or even kicks off a machine learning job.
So S3 is becoming like this central hub
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
For data activity.
It's really becoming the center of a lot of things.
And earlier we mentioned using S3 for transcoding video, but we didn't really dive into the details.
So imagine you have like raw video footage stored in S3. You can trigger a transcoding job using AWS Media Convert, which is a service specifically for converting video formats. And then the transcoded video is automatically stored back in S3.
Gotcha.
Ready for you to distribute or further process.
So it's like an automated video factory?
Yeah.
Powered by S3?
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can use those S3 batch operations
we
were talking about
to
run like large-scale transcoding jobs.
Wow.
Convert hundreds or even thousands of videos at once.
This is amazing. We've covered so much ground.
We have.
From the basics of buckets and objects to all these advanced features like S3 Select and batch operations.
Part of the website hosting. What are some key takeaways?
The biggest takeaway is that S3 is more than just storage.
Right.
It's really become a platform for data management, analytics, application integration.
It's like the Swiss Army knife of data.
I like that.
In the cloud.
Yeah.
Okay.
Choosing the right storage class for your needs, implementing security measures, being mindful of those little bucket naming quirks.
Right.
Those are all really important.
Stay curious.
Always stay curious.
Okay.
S3 is constantly evolving.
Right.
There's always something new to learn and explore.
All right. So I'm ready to embrace my inner S3 explorer.
Great.
But before we go any further,
yeah,
how do I actually get started?
Okay, so first you have to sign up for an AWS account.
Okay.
Once you have an account,
yeah,
you can access the S3 console, which is like a user-friendly interface for managing all your buckets and objects.
Yeah, hi.
If you want to be more programmatic.
Yeah. You can interact with S3 through the CLI. Or various SDKs.
So point and click for beginner, CLI and SDKs for the pros.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you get lost along the way, AWS has really great documentation for all their services, including S3.
Documentation is a must.
Yeah, it's like a map
when
you're exploring uncharted territory.
Speaking of getting lost, what if I have a problem or question about S3?
Right. AWS has different levels of support. Ranging from basic developer support to dedicated enterprise support for like mission-critical applications.
So if I'm just messing around for a personal project, basic should be enough.
Yeah, the basic developer support should be plenty.
Okay, cool.
And then as your needs grow, you can upgrade
to a more comprehensive plan.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered how to get started, where to find help, and a whole lot more.
We've even touched on how S3 is used in like media workflows and big data analytics and genomics research.
Yeah.
But that's really just the tip of the iceberg.
It sounds like S3 is incredibly powerful.
It is.
And versatile.
Very versatile.
Constantly evolving to meet the demands of modern applications.
Right.
But I feel like there's still more to discover.
Oh, there's always more.
Yeah, there's always more to learn. With a service as versatile as S3, that exploration can lead to some pretty innovative use cases.
What's really fascinating is how S3 has become this like fundamental building block for all these different applications.
Okay.
You know, like media workflows.
Right.
S3 is really commonly used for storing and processing those huge video files that we all stream.
We talked about transcoding earlier.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's even more going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And just that.
Like, think about it. S3 can store the raw footage, the transcoded versions for different devices, the thumbnails for previewing the content, and all the metadata associated with the video.
So, like, from the moment that video is captured to when it's streamed to a viewer, S3 is there every step of the way?
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's not just video. S3 can handle all sorts of rich media, audio files, images, even 3D models.
Wow.
It's really become essential for content creators and distributors of all kinds.
So S3 has gone from just this simple storage service to powering these complex media workflows.
Yeah, it's amazing how adaptable it is.
It really is.
And it's not just media. S3 is used in big data analytics, machine learning, and even genomics research. Genomics research?
That sounds pretty intense.
It is.
How does S3 even fit into that?
Well, genomic data sets can be absolutely massive. Right. We're talking terabytes or even petabytes of data.
Wow.
S3 gives you a way to store those data sets in a scalable and cost-effective way.
Gotcha.
So researchers can analyze and share that information.
Wow.
Like never before.
So S3 is helping advance scientific discovery.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Pretty remarkable.
And I'm assuming businesses use it too.
Oh, yeah. Tons of businesses rely on S3.
Okay.
For things like data backups.
Okay.
Disaster recovery planning. Even compliance archiving.
So it's like an off-site vault.
Yeah. You could think of it that way.
For all your important business data.
Exactly.
Nice. That's a good way to put it.
And it's got all the security features and the compliance certifications that businesses need to know their data is safe.
So we've seen how S3 is used in media, research business. Any other surprising or innovative use cases?
Believe it or not.
Okay.
S3 is even being used in the gaming industry.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Game developers use it to store game assets.
Okay.
Player profiles. Even real-time game data.
So S3 is everywhere.
Pretty much.
That's amazing.
It's really become this like foundational technology for all sorts of things.
Okay.
And as S3 keeps evolving, we can only imagine what other new uses will come up.
The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, the sky's the limit.
So what does all this mean for you?
Right.
You've got a solid foundation now in Amazon S3.
Hopefully.
You understand the basics of buckets and objects.
Yeah.
Those advanced features like S3 Select and batch operations.
Right.
And we've even seen how it's gone beyond basic storage to become this platform for data management, analytics, and even application development.
It's really powerful stuff.
Yeah, it is.
And here's something to think about.
Go.
Like, as you continue learning about S3, there's a feature called S3 Object Lambda, which lets you transform your data on the fly as it's accessed.
Wow.
Like imagine you're fetching an image from S3.
Okay.
And it's automatically resized or watermarked before it even reaches your application.
That's powerful.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and happy building in the cloud.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with me.
Anytime.